Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Great to be here with you today. As always, love being able to chat with you on our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesdays, where remember, if you're trying to transform your body, whether you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, or even maintain, it really is about creating homeostasis and equilibrium within the body. So if you're struggling to gain weight or lose weight, today we're going to be talking about weight loss. You want to understand that if you're already have looked into how many calories you're eating per day and you're already trying to move your body a bit, it's really important that you understand that weight loss goes well beyond calories in and calories out. And you've heard me talk about this now for over 6 years, but it's still the truth because a lot of people will tell you, well, you just need to eat less because again, it all comes down to calories in, calories out. And I would say to those people, well, all of that is well and good for maybe 80% or so of the population. But it's not for 20%. And if you've been following a nutrition plan and you're still not losing the weight and you're watching your calories and you're down to like 1,400 or 1,600 calories, I say to you this, and I say to all those gurus out there who are just telling you to eat 1,000 calories or 800 calories, you're looking at things at the outside of the onion. And it's really too simplistic of an approach. It's not a delicate approach. It's not a fair approach. And it's not an integrative approach. And the reason is this. You could just continue to eat less. There's no doubt about it. And if you just stop eating, you should continue to lose weight. But the problem is that that's not conducive to health. So a lot of these experts are really just talking about body transformation only. They're only saying, hey, we'll lose weight at any possible cost, even if we drive your metabolism into the ground. Because we all know that the best possible way to lose weight is to actually eat more if possible. Because eating more creates more of a thermogenic effect, which means your body's going to have to rev up its energy production in order to digest food. They never tell you that. What they tell you is the simplest thing possible, which is just to eat less and if possible, expend more energy. Well, there happened to be a really good experiment with this over 10 years called The Biggest Loser reality TV show. And they brought people to the ranch and they would have people on 1,600 calories a day for men and about 1,200 calories a day for women. They would have them exercise anywhere between 6 and 8 hours a day. And then sometimes they would use a sauna before weigh-in to sweat it out. Well, lo and behold, they would lose the weight. There's no doubt about that. They would lose the weight. But even as they got towards the end, some of them would only lose 3 pounds or 5 pounds a week. And that's with all of this low-calorie dieting and unbelievable energy expenditure. So it's not surprising that basically every single contestant on The Biggest Loser ended up gaining the weight back over the course of the next 12 months, almost across the board. So you might say, well, that seems unsustainable. And the answer would be, you're right. How many people can dedicate even 2 hours a day to exercise? Not many, right? Unless you're in the exercise field and you work or live, inside of a gym, meaning like maybe your home gym is at home, it's going to be pretty challenging. And how long can you stay on 1,200 calories a day? It's pretty challenging. I mean, it really is. Now, if you're someone with a lower appetite and you're a smaller body type, maybe because you just don't have the appetite in general. But most people can't. And even if you could, what I'll tell you is that eventually, as you start dropping below that 1,200 calories, it's very counterproductive to your overall health. And that's because when you start to take away macros, carbs, protein, and fat, and you actually look at micronutrients, then you start to say, well, there's no humanly way possible that I can make all of my micronutrient requirements on 800 calories a day. If you look at, without supplementation, now again, I'm not saying you can't supplement, you can supplement, but if you're looking at your, vitamin levels, B vitamin levels, vitamin C, your omegas, your amino acids, like everything that you need to run your body, including antioxidants, etc., well, you're certainly going to miss out on those. I mean, I do this all the time when actually I don't just look at macronutrients, I also like to look at micronutrients. And I see that from nutrition alone, even people on 2,000 calorie a day diets aren't usually meeting their micros. And again, it's no big deal because most people are using something like a daily activated multivitamin or a daily nutritional support shake or something like that. So fine. And they're definitely not meeting their omega-3 requirements. But again, you can take daily omega-3 support or something like that. So it's like, it's okay. You can do those things. But what I'm saying is, as you're on your way to losing weight and going lower calorie and expending more energy, which by the way, uses up more micronutrients as well as macros, you're essentially starving your body. Now, when you starve your body to that level, in the beginning, you can actually get incredible benefit because you go deeper into autophagy. But then like anything, there's a tipping point, right? So again, you can call it whatever you want. But eventually you can call it a J curve and look at it in a positive way. You can look at a bell curve and look at it in a positive way, but then it becomes very negative. Like however you want to look at it, the end result of that, the end result of going low carb for too long, of carnivore for too long, of keto for too long is a negative. And it starts to affect the energy systems of the body, the microbiome, and so much more. So anyway, that wasn't even today's show. Today's show was not meant to be on micros and macros, but certainly it's become that at least for the first 5 minutes of the show. What I want to do is simply share with you then, well, if it's not just about and expending more energy and eating less, well, what else may it be? I gave you a few other examples. I've talked again. We have a whole now weight loss podcast. So what I'll do is I will link up all of our previous weight loss based shows at stephencabral.com/2287. So if you want to check out all, and by the way, they're all free. So if you want to check out all the previous weight loss based podcasts, head to stephencabral.com/2287. Just check out the show notes. We'll link to that separate podcast now. Okay. So here's what I want to say. Last week, we went over how chronic stress can make you fat. And again, this is literally medical terminology. It's called overfat, when you have more fat production than is healthy for your body. Well, today I talked about stress last week. That was episode 2280. I'll link that up today as well. But I want to talk about how poor sleep can also cause weight gain. Right? This is important because again, and I really hope that a lot of people out there who are just saying, you just need to eat less. Like that's it. You just need to eat less. Well, again, like some people are eating very, very little and it's harming their metabolism because as you begin to eat less and less, I mean, it literally harms your metabolism, but we won't go into that today. I've talked about that on previous shows, but I want to talk about today how actually improper sleep, poor sleep can cause weight gain too. So the first one I want to get out of the way is just because a lot of people say, well, you talked about how poor sleep can actually dysregulate blood sugar. So let's get that first one out of the way and then let's start to move to some of the other ones. So yes, when you get less than 7 hours of sleep per night, right, or disjointed sleep, you are typically, not everyone, of course. Again, nothing affects everyone, right? Like it's like positively or negatively. People like, oh, I did this program and I got great results. Okay, well, there's that. Oh, I did this program and I got really bad results. Well, there's that, right? Like, so there's different, and then some people in the middle, they see no change. So we have to understand is not everything affects everybody equally. But for people who are certainly prone to it, if you get less than 7 hours of sleep per night, you can end up with higher fasting glucose levels. What does that mean? Well, it means during the night and upon waking, your blood sugar is higher than it should be. Ideally, it's between about a 75 and a 90. That's the sweet spot. But it could be between a 70 and a 95, all the way within that zone. How do you test? Yeah, you simple finger prick first thing in the morning when you wake up, or you can use a continuous glucose monitor. Costs a couple $100s a month, but you can see exactly what's going on with your body. If you just want to do this one, it's $20, right? So it's $20. You get a little finger poke in the morning, check your blood sugar upon waking. Okay, what is it? Okay, well, if it's above a 95, well, certainly during the night, you were not tapping into as much body fat as you could be. And that's not only a problem for body fat, but it's a problem for overall inflammation, because inflammation leads to inflammaging, which is a faster aging of the body, but it also leads to water retention. What's water retention? Well, since your body's about 2/3 water, you're also retaining more water, you look puffier, and people think, well, that's weight gain. And it is, it's weight gain. It's not necessarily fat gain, but it certainly is water retention and puffiness. And that's why when we talk about getting the body healthy, you lose toxic water weight. I have a podcast on toxic water weight because it's not water weight that you're meant to hold, it's water weight that you're holding because you're inflamed. A good example of the inflammation is if you ever get, hit in the arm or stung by a bee, like things start to swell. All right, that is a swelling process of inflammation. Okay, lots of different immunoglobulins and histamines and cytokines that cause that, but nonetheless, it's still inflammation. It's still fluid retention as well. So really, really important to look at this. Definitely make sure that you have those blood sugar levels balanced for weight loss. And specifically, we want to lose body fat or oxidize body fat. We don't want to lose muscle. If you lose muscle, your metabolism goes down, your ability to actually eat more calories goes down as well. So let's talk about what else can cause, how else does poor sleep cause weight gain as well? Well, this is a really important one. If you eat less, if you sleep less, you may be more hungry, right? Because you're more tired. So let's think of it this way. If you don't get your 90 minutes of deep sleep and your 2 hours of REM, which I definitely recommend tracking, and I've got lots of resources as well in previous podcasts to track your REM sleep and your deep sleep, and you don't get 7 hours of total sleep per night, you may be more tired in the morning, okay? A lot of people can get away with very little sleep for a long period of time. They can do that because of norepinephrine. They can do that because of higher level of cortisol. They might have a stronger kapha-based constitution or kapha pitta. And again, we can get away with anything with the human body for a certain period of time. And then based on your constitution or your rain barrel, how quickly you've filled that up, you'll break down faster, right? And then eventually you end up in a diseased state with autoimmune issues. And you said, hey, how did any of this happen? Well, it built up over time, right? Your rain barrel filled up over time. But back to the sleep equation. So you're not getting enough sleep. You're starting to feel tired. Well, you start to maybe use a little bit more caffeine, or you're eating more food, typically salty and sweet, to give you immediate energy. Because salty and sweet are what the body knows. Salt for a little bit of that adrenal-based energy, and sweet as well for carbohydrates. That gives you an immediate pick-me-up, whether you have low blood sugar or not. So that's certainly one reason, because we don't want a lot of processed foods or sweets in our body. Well, I would say no processed foods and not a lot of refined carbohydrates in the diet. I don't have a problem with people doing fruit or some smoothies. We're not going to overdo that if we're on a weight loss based program, but certainly we do recommend that. Now, we don't recommend, though, processed carbohydrates. That's not necessarily what we're talking about in today's show, but just keep in mind, less sleep, more fatigue, reaching for more calories for energy. And it's a natural lethargy that you feel because you simply didn't recover overnight. Okay, another one is this. If you are more tired from a lack of sleep, you are far less prone to get in your 10,000 steps per day. You're far less prone to want to expend more energy, right? I mean, there's people who are exhausted. It takes a rare individual to say, I can't wait to get into that high intensity interval training or that sprint workout or whatever workout you're doing that day, right? It's just not as likely. So that's a big factor. Willpower is a big factor as well. Willpower to make yourself go work out. Willpower to eat healthy foods, and you really just want easy to digest sugar, salty based foods, right? Like those bag of chips look much more appealing when you're exhausted and when you're tired. So willpower can start to go downhill if you don't get your sleep as well. Another one is appetite regulating hormones. We chatted about this before, but leptin and ghrelin, the two fat-burning based hormones, I can link up a podcast for that as well today, are going to help your body to say, hey, we're not hungry. We actually have enough body fat. Let's burn that for fuel. Rather than if you don't get enough sleep, you start to imbalance those fat-burning hormones. Another one, which is really, really important to look at as well, is if your body's exhausted, it's not rejuvenating, it's going to start to dysregulate thyroid hormone and cortisol. Okay, so how this happens is this. As your body becomes more stressed because you have a lack of sleep, you start to increase cortisol levels. Well, over time, increased cortisol levels can decrease thyroid levels. As thyroid levels begin to decrease, so does your metabolism. Now, unfortunately, you have to eat less calories because you have a lowered metabolic rate. That is until you fix your cortisol and thyroid. Now, over time, though, you actually don't produce as much AM cortisol. AM cortisol is produced naturally between about 6 and 8 in the morning to wake you up with energy. Well, if your body's exhausted, it's not producing that as much in the morning. So what happens is you start to produce cortisol maybe a little later in the day. We call this a dysfunctional diurnal rhythm, where what happens is this. You're tired during the day, and what we call it wired at night, right? So tired and wired. Now you can't fall asleep well at night, but in the morning you're exhausted, right? We want the opposite. We want you to have energy in the morning and then it start to just slowly drop during the day so you have a nice peaceful night's sleep at night. So now we have dysregulated blood sugar, we have dysregulated thyroid, we have dysregulated hunger hormones, we have dysregulated neurotransmitters such as GABA and serotonin, which are those happy, feel-good neurotransmitters that are higher when you're not stressed. And when you are stressed, they become depleted as well. So that is dysregulated too. And then, as I talked about before, leptin and ghrelin for regulating your fat burning and hunger-based suppression so that you're not hungry all the time just because of stress and poor sleep. So we have to understand, and the reason why I explain this today is that being able to attain your ideal healthy body weight, not somebody else's healthy body weight, but your healthy body weight, it goes well beyond calories in, calories out. It has to do with the overall metabolic rate of the individual, and that is based on hormones, neurotransmitters, sleep, and so much more. I give a pretty detailed account for this in the de-stress protocol, which is essentially what I use in my private practice. That is in my book, The Rain Barrel Effect. You can get it on Amazon. 100% of all proceeds from that book are donated to charity. And you can even get a free copy at stephencabral.com, where we just ask you to pay for shipping and we actually pay to print the book because my job is to get this information in as many people's hands as possible. So hopefully you're learning, you're understanding, and then you are ready to take then your health to that next level. Because as I said, this is a wellness and weight loss Wednesday podcast. And the only way to truly lose the weight and get to your ideal body weight is actually through getting your body well again. That's what it's all about. So hopefully today's show is helpful. I'm always here to be able to answer your questions and comments. And of course, if the show was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anybody else you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone.